Okay, so just a little bit of background. The ACE mentor program is over 25 years old. It was started in New York, and it has since then grown to over 78 affiliates across the country. So there's also one in Hawaii. We're adding one in Toronto. So this orange one here. We have one in Puerto Rico, but basically 10,000 students on an average year. COVID was a little different, so we had a little bit. The numbers were down during COVID, but usually it's 10,000 students and 5,000 mentors participate in the program every year. And the reason, just the backstory, the reason why ACE Knoxville was started, and Scott can chime in too, is that they found out a lot of the architecture students graduated from the ACE program, some of them from the ACE Nashville affiliate. And so Knoxville was started kind of on the premise that, these students are excelling at the next level because they know exactly what they want to do. And there's a lot of folks at UT that have gone through the ACE program, not only in architecture, but engineering as well. So here we are. I think this is, they didn't really go through a full year last year, but we're trying to kick things off for this coming year, adding the academy, as well as trying to add another high school at Fulton. Currently, the first kind of pilot program was at South Doyle. So Scott, you want to add anything to that?
No, just that we probably should have done this 8 or 10 years ago when I started. Some of our best students are in this. One thing Zoo didn't mention that he's mentioned before is when students are exposed to ACE, their graduation rate within the university, whichever university they choose, is much higher than the general student population. It's something like in the 95+%.
Yeah, and if you think about it, a lot of our students at least attend ACE 2 years, if not more. Some of them do all 4 years. And so that's all 4 years of experience going through an entire project, meeting professionals. So after those 2 to 4 years, these students know exactly what they want to do. They're not auditing anymore. This is their path. And so the reason why there's a lot of attrition at the next level is students that go don't have this ACE experience, and they're trying it out. Unfortunately, that it's an expensive way to try out something, and they don't make it all the way through. So ACE students don't suffer from that issue as much. Okay. So this is our main website, acementor.org. We're actually gonna roll out a new website probably this fall. So look out for that. We launched a kind of a resource website about 3 years ago, and it's called acementortools.org. And on here, there's a lot of information. When we say affiliates, that means the chapters across the country. There's a lot of information on like how to start a program, graphics for marketing, how do we do insurance. So I won't get into any of those details, like the ACE Knoxville board that runs the program in Knoxville knows most of this stuff already. So but the other things I want to show you here are some of these resources, mentor resources.
Hey, Sue,
Go ahead.
what do I have to give them so that they'll have access to this?
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna do you one better. I downloaded the all the information for the curriculum I'm about to show you guys onto a Dropbox folder, and once this meeting's over, I'll give you guys access to the whole folder of documentation, and that way you can direct access. You don't have to keep coming back here. But to access this, just go to acementortools.org. It's no longer password protected. We had it protected for a little while because we had other programs kind of pilfering the information, but we felt like it was also hindering the folks that needed access to it. So for right now, it's not password protected.
Okay.
So under here, there's more resources, mentor resources, student resources. But what I want to show you guys today is virtual tools. Because of COVID, we had to basically pivot to a online program this past year. And some chapters across the country develop a certain curriculum that can be utilized even when things go back to normal. So what I'm going to show you today is under virtual curriculum. And under ACE Raleigh, there's kind of two links. One is the program documentation. That is, it's a Google Drive with all the folders, and I'll go through this in a second. And then another link goes to this kind of main folder, main document that shows the layout of the weeks. So I'm gonna go right to the Dropbox. So this is what you'll see when I give you the Dropbox link. So there's three main folders. One has the kickoff presentation. So these are presentations given to the mentors at the beginning of the year, as well as student kickoff. So it's a PowerPoint. You guys will have to kind of edit it to fit your flavor for Knoxville. And I'll show you in a second how that works. There's a large group presentation material. So all these lessons are correlated to that first document that I showed you. And let me see here. And then lesson activities also. So that previously it was the presentations, but then we also have activities for each lessons as well. So these main documents outside in the parent folder, there's the RFP, which is the Mobile Live Work Studio. And obviously this is made for Raleigh, so the site is in Raleigh. So this is something that you guys might have to come up with, like a site local to Knoxville. So this might be the thing that needs to be changed. So there's a, if I go back to the parent folder, there's a Word version of it that you guys can edit, right? To fit a Knoxville site, okay? The next thing I'll show you is maybe you guys will need to come together and come up with a schedule. So Wake County's school system is in Raleigh, and this is actually an overlay of two calendars. We have schools that are year-round as well as traditional. So Raleigh mapped out a schedule from so September, we have all our kickoff meetings, mentor, student. In this case, we had small groups as well. And then the program ran from October all the way through February with the final presentation in March. This past year was a little bit different because of COVID, so things were virtual. And so what you're seeing here is SM stands for small groups, and then LG stands for large groups, because we had basically during the large group, everyone came together. Even though Raleigh had 5 locations, all the students came together in a Zoom meeting, and a pre-recorded video was shown. Usually it's like 20, 25 minutes. And then the rest of the hour, we also limited to an hour because, you know, students won't be able to stay online for 2 hours. They only have so much energy. So typically in person, it's around 2 hours, but you guys will have to work with the school class time. So that's something to think about as well. So the large groups are the lessons, and then the lesson also includes a part on how to do the activity. And then for this case, because it's only an hour, we don't have any group work during that hour. The work was done at home after that hour is over. But when we go back to in person, that will not, that shouldn't be the case. You should have your lesson, explain the activity, and then do the activity together as a group. So that part of the mentoring will be back to how it was before the pandemic. And then we
Hey,
also,
so go back to the list of lessons, you know,
yes.
week 1, week 2, and show them, yeah, that one.
Yes.
And let me take, I need to get up where I can see. Show them the architect design and planning.
Yes.
Yeah. I tell you what, let's do landscape architecture, because that would be one we might use.
Okay. So
Click
let me
on that.
explain this document real quick. So that's the curriculum kind of laid out from this calendar, right? In list format. So there's at the end of each one, a lot of them have links to the recording. So if I click on this,
Click on that one, yeah.
that goes to the recording of the mentor kickoff, right? So you get an idea how this is run, what was talked about during the mentor kickoff,
rewarding
and how things are done. So a lot of times we do this also so that new mentors will understand what the program is, and then also they understand how how the year is going to run. So I obviously won't play this, but it's available to watch, as well as what we present to parents and students beginning of the year. There's a recording of that as well. And then jumping right into kind of lessons. Again, this last year, there was small groups and large groups, but for all intents and purposes, there won't be any of that if you go back to in person. It will just be your group for your school. So here, there's also recording. The blue one is actually the entire session, so you can see how it was done virtually. But then the orange link is just the lesson itself.
This oceanside Verbo is about to become the backdrop for an unforgettable vacation.
You get around the end.
Yeah.
So for example, this first scales lesson is 16 minutes and 29 seconds. And this is something I did, and it shows the students how to measure with a scale. Engineering architecture. So that's something you guys can show. That was a lesson done really early on, because a lot of the ones afterwards require them to know how to draw with a scale.
Do a landscape architecture. I'd like to see that one.
So landscape architecture.
The consultants, like architects, or
So
engineers to
basically, it's 13 minutes. The first, part of this is them talking about like Timmons Group is the person that did the recording. What they did was they showed a project, they did, and kind of talked about what landscape architecture is, the process. So that's part of the presentation. And then the back half of the presentation is how to do the activity.
Okay.
So in this case, there is a kind of master plan project in Raleigh where the site is. And so this activity wasn't really involved. We just asked the students to pick out a thing they could add to the master plan for their site. So you see some of the other ones were like garden terrace, large seating area. So I think some students picked like hammock grove, or frisbee golf, disc golf. So that
Okay.
was more of a lesson on like how do you master plan and think about ideas for the project. So yeah, so he gave an example, like maybe there's a treehouse for this. So if I go back actually to, let's see here.
So all those subjects are on there that we could take advantage of, and you can watch the whole class being taught and help you form an outline for how you want to do it.
Let me go to the activities because I think that will explain a lot of it too. So for example, lesson 1, the one of the scales, there's a whole activity on how to measure. So they have to measure all this stuff using the scales.
Yeah. So in the new activity, you've already got one there.
Right. And then because it was virtual, we couldn't buy scales for everybody. So you might use this, you might not. But there's a PDF of scales that they can print out and cut out to use as scales. But
I've already told them we're not going to be that cheap. I'll buy scales for
so that's good. And then let me run through some other ones. So floor plan activity. So it's a tiny home, right? So the floor plan activity has the trailer size. They're supposed to, like, the first thing they have to do is measure overall dimension and label. So they have to measure the trailer size. After they do the scale lesson, they should know how to do it. It's a 1/4 inch equals a foot. And then there's like a little measuring to make sure they print it correctly, but you guys will be printing it and providing it. So the printing shouldn't be a problem. And then the second part of it is, students sometimes don't understand scale. So sometimes it's nice to provide things that are already scale so they understand sizes of things. So these
Where
are
was this?
Huh?
Where was this lesson? This is in the, go back.
Yeah, so this would be under architecture, design, and planning, lesson 2.
Okay.
You see lesson 2 activities. They would have
That's the activity. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, I see.
Under
plan.
One of the things we're going to try to do, Sue, is we're going to buy them Chief Architect. And we're going to tie many of the lessons to them actually drawing things in Chief Architect.
Oh, yeah. That's that totally works. Whatever you guys think will work, just go for it.
So, like, they meet 3 times a week. So Monday, they may do a scale drawing. And then Wednesday, they only meet for 45 minutes. They may convert that to Chief Architect. And then on Friday, they may make presentations on their design.
Yes, I would say, if they meet 3 times a week, obviously maybe the first day would be the lesson itself, how to do the activity, and then you gotta roll in time for them to do the work and have the mentors like answer any questions that they might have, and then also tie in times to present, like you're saying, so that they can practice how to present in front of other students and how to get their ideas across.
So the first half of the year, they're really going to design, decor, and present their tiny home design.
Absolutely.
In a competition.
Mm-hmm.
And then that'll be kind of the first 9 lessons half of the year. And then we're going to develop the second half will be more towards getting into master planning and larger scale projects.
Yeah. Whatever you guys think will work with the school and for you guys. I'll just show you guys a couple more examples. So this is the site activity, so lesson 3. So on here would be this one, civil engineering. And so this red area is the site, and the activity, they had to first fill out some of these blanks based on the topo grade, based on what's existing. So they have to interpolate some of that. And then they have to do a 20-foot setback from Unstead Drive. So they have to use some of the scale lesson they had before and then draw a setback and then place their tiny home on the site and draw a driveway. So again, this is a site in Raleigh. If you guys want to do something similar, you might have to prepare maybe something like this, but for Knoxville site. Another cool thing is the digital finish board. So this is PowerPoint they can download, and all they have to do is find precedent images. And I know this doesn't show it, but you know how PowerPoint sometimes says a drop-in picture. You can so there will be a drop-in box for each of these things. So all they have to do is find images for all these finishes like window treatment, base, counter, casework, so they can utilize that.
That's what we were thinking about. Exactly.
I'm really excited now.
Yeah. Digital finish. And actually, this is the first time we did it, and it worked really well. And the students did a really good job of populating it with what they have. So part of it is collect finishes images in 3 folders. One is like a inspirational precedent images, just like projects they like, and they have to explain why they like. Has a lot of wood in it because it feels warm, you know, stuff like that. And then the second folder is interior finishes, and the third folder they would save exterior finishes. Once collected, click the picture icon in each category frame and select the corresponding image you saved and show it for that item. They can also add more stuff if these don't show what they want, and then rearrange as needed. So there's some examples of where they can find inspiration images, and then as well as textures for finishes. There's some links as well. So
we're going to have them like do some basic designs and develop a digital decor board, and then Michelle's going to render it into a 3D model for them.
Okay. That's awesome.
Give them a 3D model rendered, and then they'll make a presentation on their complete design, and we'll have a competition and select a winner and that type of thing.
Here's another one, electrical plan activity. So this is part of lesson 10. If I go back to here, lesson 10 is MEP engineering. So there's a whole lesson on that. Background on what MEP is. So in this case, the activity is only electrical. So once they have a floor plan already done, you know, use your design from the floor plan activity to help lay out electrical plan, right? One fun thing that we tried is if they already have this drawn out, they can slip a clear sheet protector over this, over their drawn floor plan, and then start populating it with electrical plan legend items. So this lesson, if I go to it, for example, so they go through MEP, what MEP is about, some of their projects, and then at the end, they kind of go through what each thing is. Like, people don't understand what these icons are, so explain it to students. You should kind of show them exactly what those things are. So yeah, that's the electrical plan activity. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, very cool.
Let's see, what else is good?
What's framing plan?
Cost estimate.
Do you actually?
Oh.
Yes, that would be in the structural.
Framing plan, yes, structural. So we actually got them to, they didn't do everything. They just did a kind of spacing, you know, typically 16 to 24 inches on center. And then we got them to, you know, draw out, make sure they had double header at doors and window frames, and also like a corner detail. So again, that's something they can draw over top of what their floor plan is, because not everyone's windows are in the same location, right? Or doors. So that's a good one. And there's also a lead checklist. I think you probably can open it after you download it. So for some reason I can't see it here. There's other stuff too. Like I think one of the lessons was a career questionnaire and feedback session, as well as a college questionnaire and feedback session. And so in here, there's these questionnaires that you can go through with like the mentors and students. Like, so these are questions like the mentors can and answer, like what made you decide in the field that you're in? Do you have someone who inspired you? So, you know, just a way to talk about the mentors to talk about how they got to where they are, you know. And then there's a college version of this too. So you bring in maybe younger professionals that have just gotten through college and now working, and maybe the students can ask them questions about, like, you know, what they had to do to go through college, get licensed, stuff like that. So that's good too. And so yeah, let me just go back to here. So here, scale, there's the architecture lesson, there's a civil engineering lesson. We did virtual office tours, so maybe consider doing an office tour. There's a landscape architecture, sustainability. We added some feedback meetings, ASIC technology. So there's a whole nother plethora of things you guys can use under virtual tools. There's ACE at Home. So these were curated by ACE National, and we asked affiliates from across the country to provide a video with an activity. So there's some soft skill things like how do you write an effective essay. This one in particular is how to write an essay to get ACE scholarships. Architectural drawings and renderings. So engineering technology. So in this curriculum, this one was just viewing the lesson from ACE at Home. So this particular one's a really good one from Orlando. So they talked about the use of drones and laser scanning from all three perspectives. So how the architect uses it, how the contractor uses it, and how to engineer. So all three of them speak in this video. And the activity for this particular one is to draw a 1-point perspective. So kind of 3D, kind of ties it back into laser scanning in 3D, understanding things in 3D. Interior design, we showed you that digital finish board, virtual construction site tour. So for you guys, maybe visit a construction site or the tiny home community that you guys have, right? Scott was saying you have a tiny home project community near you guys, right? Is that correct?
Yes, we do.
So that could be part of the tour. Structural engineering, the framing plan activity, MEP, the electrical plan activity. We had another virtual office tour, then construction estimating. There's a there's an Excel file that kind of simplified version of a cost estimate. So you can take a look at that. And then professional development. So this one, again, goes back to the ACE at home. We utilize the interview skills. So we watched about a 45-minute video on how to do an interview. So there was 2 mentors, one from Nashville, one from Houston, and then 2 recent ACE grads. So one was the interviewer, and then the rest were interviewees. The students provided examples of what to do well in an interview, and then the mentor did a bad version of what not to do in an interview. So it was fun to watch. And then there's the activities, like the questions kind of listed out, and then the students can go through it themselves, like what would they say during the interview, and maybe practice it in front of their parents or during ACE. So that's another one. Interior design, civil engineering. We also have one on presentation skills. So this was presented by Johnson Controls. They had a couple of people from Johnson Controls that are part of the Toastmasters. So they gave a whole presentation on like tips and tricks on how to do public speaking effectively. And then we have another one on MEP engineering by Limbach. So this is kind of another supplemental resource if you want to plug it into, like, if you develop a curriculum and you need something maybe special as well. And then
hey, Sue, we're gonna have to cut it off here.
Okay, sure.
But again, it's under the acementor.org, and all of these things are under virtual tools.
Yeah, and I'll send a link to all of these from that, and also the Dropbox that has basically all the things that you need.
Okay.
Directly. And under virtual tools, the ACE at home, and then there's a whole nother thing on ACE Ventures. These are like special tours, like meet the architect of the Capitol. These are webinars. Oracle did a one on like the Boston Dynamics robot they had. So these are like almost little like mini tours of other projects. Really fun one was the stadium in Las Vegas, the Raider Stadium. So a lot of things you guys can utilize.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's what I wanted to get out of the session is he went through this with me yesterday, day before. There's a lot of stuff out there that we can use. And having gone through our exercise,
Yeah.
I think it's going to give us some ideas.
I would say, you know, the videos are there. So worst case scenario is play the video. That's pre-recorded.
Right.
Even though it's from Raleigh, I think it still applies, at least the lesson portion of it with how to do the activity. The other option is whoever is responsible for that, you know, session, like civil engineering or architecture, that person or that team watches the video, see how it's done, and then the PowerPoint is also available, so you don't have to like start from scratch. You can like populate it with your own project, so that you can talk about that topic from your perspective, and then teach the activity afterwards, maybe during class. You don't have to use the video. So
Very, very helpful.
okay. Great.
Any questions? Thank you so much, Sue. Scott,
Of course.
Touch.
You.
Thanks for joining us.
Rick.
I
Thank
will,
you all.
I will send a recording of this as well.
Okay.
And all the links to all the material. Okay. Okay.
Thanks, Sue.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Now.